Hello, everybody. Sorry to cut off your last show that you thought you were going to listen to. Instead, you get me, Della Hill, with the Extraordinary Talk Show. And I have to apologize to you just a little bit today because I got back from Lake Powell about 3 hours ago, just enough time to unpack and get a shower, but not enough time even for my hair to dry. So I threw it in a braid, and you get me as I am. And that's preferable anyway, isn't it? We all want people to accept us as we are in the moment, understanding that maybe we're in a hurry. Maybe we had lake water in our hair earlier and we were in a rush to get to where we are. So thank you for being patient with me today. So today on our show, I'm going to jump into a topic that I've talked a little bit about before, but now we're going to talk about this. And today we're going to talk about meditation. I know I've talked to you a little bit about meditation previously, about how you can use it to get to know and to love yourself. And that is one really great reason for using meditation. It is not the only reason. It's really just one, and maybe for you it might be the beginning. So let's talk about, I want to tell you how I started meditating, why I started meditating, what happened with that to lead me to where I am now. I was at a place in my life a couple of years ago, and things in general were going very, very well for me, but I didn't feel like it was where I wanted it to be. I didn't feel like I had all the answers, and I knew that there was more out there. That was the key. I knew that there was more that I just didn't know, and I didn't even know what I didn't know. So I did a funny thing. I Googled life hacks. And that might sound funny, but that's what it was for me. I knew that there was some trick. There had to be something, some key that would help me make my life just a little bit easier, a little bit better. And I didn't know how to place it. I couldn't figure it out. But I knew that there was something. So I Googled life hacks. And I found a lot of great videos on cool things that you can do with paper clips and pencils and elastic bands, and that's awesome. But then the universe worked with YouTube's algorithms, and I watch a lot of YouTube videos, let me tell you that. But so in my YouTube search, as I looked for different things, I came up with new videos popping up on my suggested videos that I hadn't expected. And one of them was a life hack by a 15-minute life hack by a man named Vishen Lakhiani. And I know that I have told you guys about Vishen Lakhiani before. He's really, really, really quite a cool guy. But he gave this talk about meditation, about how to try it and the benefits that he found from it in his life. He actually paid and went to a meditation teacher, took a class that was several days long, and doing that changed his life. And then he began to meditate on his own without the teacher, learn how to do it, develop easier, simpler ways. And I'm all about the life hack, guys. If you can find a simpler way to do it, even better, whether it's cutting up a watermelon or connecting with your higher self. Let's find the easy way. I'm all about doing things the easy way. But I watched this video and it made me think. And then it made me think some more. And then I went home and tried it. And Vishen Lakhiani has developed what he calls the 6-phase meditation. And it's very powerful and important. And it still is one of my favorite go-to meditations. And you can find it on YouTube. You can find apps that have that meditation as well as many, many, many other meditations. But if you want to start and you have no idea, start with the 6-phase meditation from Vishen Lakhiani. And Vishen who started out as a salesman at the time that he started meditating, now owns a company called Mind Valley. He has several hundred employees, and he inspires thousands of people every year, and it's really pretty cool. So feel free to look him up if you're bored and got time and want to spend time on YouTube. His company, Mind Valley, has a YouTube channel, and there are tons and tons of amazing, wonderful, beautiful videos on there about meditation and many other things, just as a resource for you if you're looking for that. So I started using Vishen's 6-phase meditation, and then I started using some of my own meditations on my own, and I listened to guided meditations, and I watched videos on meditation, and I started incorporating different techniques into my own meditations and finding different ways that I could use it that were the most beneficial for me. And then I started sharing it with other people because I was having such a great time doing it. And I really was still very much in the beginning, but I was having things happen to me that seemed like coincidences, but there were so many of them happening that they didn't seem like coincidences. And I'll give you a great example. About after I'd been doing this, about 6 months where I was doing this almost every day. I'm not perfect. I wasn't doing it every day, but I was really, really trying. And I had talked my husband, my wonderful husband, Chris, into trying it with me. And he had gone along with it, and he seemed to enjoy it. He liked that it just kind of helped him relax. He liked that it kind of gave him more control over his own brain. And that was all good news. So he kept doing it just because he seemed to enjoy it in the moment. And that's one thing about meditation is you enjoy it, or you should enjoy it in the moment. But a beautiful thing about meditation is it doesn't end when your meditation ends. The mind state that you got into stays with you all day long. And in our meditation, we often receive learning and understanding, and those things stay with you. I also found, we've talked about how the human brain develops in 0 to 7 years, and information that you receive during those early years can solidify and become like a block in your brain that prevents you from doing other things because you have this belief that this is what you were told. And even if logically you know something different, it's really, really hard to unwire that belief in your brain. And I found that meditation is one way that you can rewire. Now, for example, we know that if your parents tell you when you're a child that rich people are always greedy, therefore you don't ever want to be rich, you may have that as a belief or a block in your mind preventing you from other things, from learning new things, from learning better things. But you can learn to rewire that. And how hardwired something is in our head makes it even harder to unwire. Many people say it takes years and years and years of therapy to be able to unwire some of these early beliefs. And that might be true, but it's not the only way. Years and years of therapy is not the only way to unlearn these beliefs and these blocks that you have in your brain. One way is doing it yourself, convincing yourself, and you can do that. You can talk to yourself enough to take on a new belief. Absolutely. And we can do it with good beliefs and we can do it with bad beliefs. But you can. Another way is through meditation or hypnosis or deep discussion in a healing environment. There's actually many ways. Consider that when somebody, maybe a soldier, is fighting and they are in a traumatic experience, they experience something traumatic, they may later experience what we called post-traumatic stress disorder, which is so what happened is when they were in the field fighting and that traumatic thing happened, when that traumatic thing happened, their brain released acetylcholine, a big dose of acetylcholine. Guys, we have a ton of cool chemicals in our brain, and sometimes they mess with us. Sometimes they can be hurtful, and this causes things like mental disorders, depression, anxiety, and there's always help for those people. And if you are one of those people, don't stop fighting. There is help, I promise. And meditation may be one thing that will help you. But so when this acetylcholine is dumped into the brain, it rewires brain connections. And in that case, it rewires them in a manner that is damaging, in a manner that is negative, that can even be devastating for that person's entire lifetime. Because in that moment when they experienced a traumatic thing, and this may have happened to you earlier in your life if you experienced something traumatic where your blood flushed with acetylcholine, and all of those traumatic ideas, beliefs, visions that you had in your mind or that you were seeing at that time became locked into your brain. And many doctors or therapists or professionals, and those people are very smart, they're very well educated. I'm not trying to argue with them or tell them that they're wrong. But many people will say that even though it took a moment for that trauma to happen, it takes a lifetime to unlearn it. I don't believe that has to be the case. Every person is different. I can't tell you what will or won't work for you. But if you can flood the brain with acetylcholine to rewire the neurons in an instant or in a few minutes, you can also change those things in an instant or in a few minutes. And in meditation is one of the ways that you can do that. That makes it sound perhaps easier than it is, because doing great meditation takes a little bit of practice, but you might be surprised at what experiences you can have and what you can learn from it. To continue on the story about my husband, he was very frustrated because he couldn't find a job that fulfilled him. He's an intelligent, incredibly brilliant, I think very, very good-looking guy. He has a college degree. He has tons of experience. And he was having a very, very difficult time finding a job. He would apply for jobs in his field and even got the occasional interview, but just didn't seem like it was going anywhere. He couldn't get callbacks. And this didn't make sense to him because he knows he's capable of doing these things. In fact, not only capable, but would be very, very good at these jobs. And he was very frustrated. And in my mind, I thought, there's got to be something that is preventing him here. There's got to be something that's blocking him, because as much as this is happening, it's not like it just is chance. This seems to be an issue that he seems to be hitting his head against over and over. So we did a meditation, a kind of special one, and it was really cool. But the whole point of the meditation was to clear some of the blocks that he was having when it came to his job. And you or I could guess and speculate about what thoughts and blocks he had in his head that were keeping him from getting a great job. Maybe you have some similar ones. But we did this meditation and worked really, really hard to help clear out some of his false beliefs about himself, about his worthiness, about his abilities, and what he deserved, so that he could change the wiring in his brain to believe that he deserved for good things to happen to him, so that when those opportunities came, he would be able to let them in. Well, we did this meditation, and afterwards, here I am, the wife, trying to help my husband accomplish this really wonderful thing with this cool new thing I found a few months ago. And afterwards, he said, that was really cool, but I've had a lot of things happen to me in my life, and it's probably not going to take, a 15, 20-minute meditation to clear all that out. And I said, that's okay. That's reasonable. That's fair. But let's wait and see what happens. So we waited to see what happened, and it didn't take long. The very next day, he called me at work and said, you're not going to believe it. That one place that I put in an application in a month ago called me and asked me to come for an interview. I said, that's amazing. By the time I got home from work that day, we're talking 24 hours after doing this meditation, we got home from work that day, and he had 4 job interviews set up. The next day, okay, maybe that's all a big coincidence, whatever. It still seemed like kind of a surprise. After he got home, our really, really good friend, Bill, who is an older gentleman that we truly adore. We get along really wonderfully with Bill, and he's such a good-hearted person. He called us up, talked to my husband, and offered to sell us our very first investment property. It was something that we had talked about doing, but we didn't know when or where or how the opportunity would come about. But within 24 hours after doing this meditation to help clear some blocks on abundance and well-being, and to receive some of the things that we deserved, and specifically my husband deserved, he had 4 job interviews and an offer to buy an investment property. Within the next 3 days, he got 2 more job interviews. He had 6 job interviews set up and an investment property offer within 3 days of doing that meditation. Some of you are changing the channel because you think that that's just silly or I'm making it up. And I assure you that I'm not making it up. It blew me away as much as anything. And if you're interested in the follow-up of that story, my husband went to those interviews, and some offered him jobs and some didn't. One even offered him to apply for another position because they felt that he would be an even better fit for that one. In the end, he ended up turning down all of those jobs and has chosen a different route for himself. But in doing that, he was able to realize that it was his choice. At that point in time, He had the opportunities put in front of him, and he was able to make the choice that best suited him. But it wasn't until he was able to clear away some of those cobwebs that were holding him back that he was able to truly understand a piece of his own worth. And I would like to say understand his worth, but we are all working to understand our worth. And even an amazing experience like that doesn't always teach us really, really how wonderful we are and how much we have to offer. And I'm talking to you. You're wonderful. You have so much to offer. You just don't know it. Or maybe you do. Maybe you think so, but you don't think other people will believe you. I'm here to tell you, you are amazing. You are wonderful. You are extraordinary. Other people will see it when you see it. And then it will grow and grow and grow and grow. And meditation is one way where you can find those things inside yourself, where you can find those skills and abilities and build on them. I had another situation happen maybe a year ago. Actually, I think it was last August, where I was having a problem. It had to do with my son's car because he was going off to college in about a week and he needed to take his car with him if he wanted to get anywhere. And his car had broken down and there was a small issue that they had to fix, but they couldn't get it fixed. They tried everything. They tried putting it in forwards and backwards, and they tried getting a different part to see if the part was better. And they called me and had told me, hey, we're really having a hard time figuring this out. It's taking us a lot of hours. We'll cut you a deal, whatever. But I wasn't worried because I knew that they were going to figure it out. And when they called me and said, we can't do it, I still didn't believe them. Or when they said, we don't know how. And I said, it's okay because Henry is my mechanic and Henry is the best mechanic. There's nothing that I've asked Henry to fix that he hasn't been able to fix. So when they called me and said, we don't know if we can figure it out, I said, just have Henry keep working on it. I'm pretty sure he'll figure it out. And then I went and meditated. And it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like I went to some ashram to see my professional guru or anything. I actually was in my office at work. I just closed my eyes and spent a few minutes focusing on Henry being able to fix the problem, focusing on the car being fixed. And I specifically thought about how happy Henry would be when he figured out what the problem was. And I thought about how great it would be for my son to be able to take this car and go to college and have that experience for himself. So I really I meditated on the outcome of this. Well, the mechanic shop called me back a little while later and said, we're so sorry. We just don't know how to fix it. It shouldn't be that big of a problem, but we've tried multiple parts. We've tried many things. We've put several hours into this. We just can't figure it out. Let us know what you want to do. And even then I didn't believe it. I thought, wait a minute, I've meditated on this. And it's not like I'm some big, super powerful thing, but I know that this can be fixed and I know Henry can fix it. So I went back and I did another meditation. And I'm not talking about like some 20-minute thing where I sat down and levitated and sent my mind somewhere else. I just closed my eyes at my desk at work. And I saw Henry in my mind. I visualized him. I visualized him working on the car. In my mind, I could see him using wrenches and tools and figuring out how to make this work. And then I also visualized him being happy. I visualized Henry being excited when he got that part figured out. I visualized him being happy about my car being fixed. And then I went back to work. I didn't even think about it. And I knew that I was supposed to call the mechanic shop back and tell them that, or what I chose to do since they told me they couldn't fix the car. And I didn't. I just waited. And about half an hour later, I got a phone call from Henry, my mechanic, my trusty, super awesome mechanic. And he said, you're not going to believe it. The wires on the part were backwards. It took me hours and hours, but I figured it out and your car's running. So maybe another coincidence. Could have been. I don't know. Henry's really, really good. He's a fantastic mechanic. Maybe he just was that smart and didn't need any psychic help from me. Not that it was psychic. That's just the first word that popped in my head. He didn't need a connection or help from me, perhaps. But for me at the time, I felt like it helped. I felt like it made a difference. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but it felt like it to me. So I could go on and finish the rest of this half hour and the rest of many other half hours telling you stories about little things that have happened to me that seem to be coincidence. And yet, when you look at the string of them, or when I look at my life with the string of them, I don't feel that they're coincidence. I don't feel they can be coincidence. I feel that there's too many of them that happen too much to be coincidence. And the more I meditate, the more I find these happy blessings in my life. So when I started meditation, those things started happening really quite quickly. And as time has gone on, I've found more and more things that seem to be happening in positive manners in my life that I feel I can connect to meditation. All of this is very subjective, meaning it's my experience. It's what I've seen. It's what I've gone through. And it's easy for me to sit here and tell you these stories. In order for you to know for yourself if I am full of crap or if there's something behind what I'm telling you, you've got to test it for yourself. And like everything that we talk about on here, I'm not trying to tell you anything so that you can believe it, so that you can do what I'm telling you. That is not my purpose. My purpose is to give you the information so that you can decide if it's something that would be helpful in your life. So you can decide if it's something that would matter to you and be beneficial to you. And if so, I hope you use it. If not, that's okay. There's no judgment from me. It's your choice. It's your life. It's your choice what things you bring into your life. I'm only here to suggest that meditation might be beneficial, and it might be that life hack that you're looking for. So how do you get started meditating? When you think of somebody meditating, you think of swamis or Buddhist monks or those kind of things sitting cross-legged, levitating, yelling with their head shaven in yellow robes. You don't have to do any of that. I don't care who you are, where you come from, what your life is, what your background is, you can meditate. In fact, meditation is one of those very, very special gifts that anybody has. There's no amount of money that can bring you the gifts that will come with meditation. There is no qualification that you have to have this education to meditate. There's no requirement that you must be this kind of person to meditate. Anyone can meditate. Children can meditate. As a meditation coach, I've worked with children as young as 4 and had some really cool experiences because children have amazing imaginations and they can visualize in a way that we tend to lose when we get older. We lose our sense of magic and pretend and imagination as we get older. So children sometimes are the best at meditating because it's very, very easy for them to connect to that imagination space. But you can meditate. Believe me, if a 4-year-old child can meditate, you can meditate. And I'm not saying that you need to go visit an ashram. You just need to close your eyes. Don't do it if you're driving. If you're driving right now, please do not close your eyes. You can meditate with your eyes open, but it's different. When you're learning, I recommend meditating with your eyes closed. There are 4 levels of the brain, beta, and these all run on electronic hertz. You can put electrodes on your scalp and be able to measure the brain levels that you're using. When you are in beta, which is like right now, hopefully right now, you're fully awake, you're alert, you're thinking, you're talking, you're going about your daily life. But there's times when you go about your daily life that you're doing things you've done so many times, like driving or doing the dishes, that you tend to let your mind slip off. You might notice that when you get home, you don't know how you got home. You don't remember driving that whole distance because you've been somewhere else in your brain. And if that happens, you were in alpha, which is the next lowest brain state. We're also in alpha pretty much within 60 seconds of watching television. And if you're watching standard television, that means you're watching commercials. And because you're in alpha within 60 seconds of when you sit down and start watching television, that also means that you're more suggestible when commercials come on. So keep that in mind and maybe skip the commercials if you can. in alpha is where basic meditation happens. And there's still higher and level lowers of alpha. There can be very light alpha, like when you're watching television, or it can be a very deep alpha in a deep meditative state. Below that is theta, and theta is usually reached through hypnosis, but every human goes through theta in their brain twice a day. When you wake up in the morning, you go through theta because asleep is delta. So when you come up out of delta, you're going to be in theta for a few minutes before you go up to alpha and then to beta, which is when you're awake. And you do the opposite going to sleep at night. So we all go in and out of theta twice a day, more if you're taking naps or if you're a super, super deep meditator, or if you have a hypnosis session, because hypnosis tends to, it depends on how your hypnosis is done, but it tends to take you down into theta. And in theta, we can do even bigger, better things when it comes to rewiring your brain, because the deeper your brain goes inside itself, the more it's able to do. So if you want to meditate, one option is to come tonight, because I will be doing a group guided meditation. We did this 2 weeks ago. We're doing it again, and we'll have another one scheduled after tonight. So that's going to be at Shake Up Dixie here in St. George. It's at 122 North, 500 East. It's right off the boulevard behind Lip Tricks. That's going to be tonight at 7 o'clock. I will be doing a guided meditation, and if you're wanting to just start, if you're wanting to try it, if you're wanting to break out, you don't know what it's like, you don't know how, come see us tonight at Shake Up Dixie, and you'll have an awesome experience. You'll also get a super nutritious shake. If it's your first time to come, you get that for free. Otherwise, it's $7. But you can also refuse the shake if you don't want that and just enjoy the awesome meditation that we do. It takes about half an hour. We try to start within 10 minutes after 7. So please try to be on time. It's very difficult if you come in late to the meditation, because the beginning parts are very important to getting you into the mental state that you want to be in. But please come to that. If you're not interested in that, then listen to YouTube. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of guided meditations on YouTube, or you can find an app like Omvana. That's the one that Mind Valley puts out, or Headspace is another one that's great, that offers simple, easy guided meditations that can walk you through the very basics of it to help you learn what things you like, what things you don't like, and then maybe guide your own meditations around as you grow and are able to build on them. One super key element of meditation that is always super important to me is gratitude. If you do nothing else to meditate, sit down, close your eyes, and be grateful. In your mind, see all the things that you're grateful for. It can be big, wonderful things like your 50-year marriage, or it can be your car that gets you to work every day. Might be a great car, might not be a great car, but if it gets you to work every day, you should still be grateful for it. It can be the very, very little things like the bowl of cereal you had for breakfast in the morning that just hit the spot. There are a million things to be grateful for. And if that is the only meditation that you do, you will benefit from that. And that's a promise from me, as much as you're willing to believe me. But again, trust yourself far more than you trust me. You may know when you listen to me, some things resonate and some things don't. And I want you as listeners to follow the things that resonate with you. It doesn't have, and find more information on those things. It doesn't have to be with me, but please continue your search. When you find something that rings a bell in your heart, follow it. Whether it's meditation or something else. Next week, we'll talk more about meditation. I'll give you some more techniques. I'll do a little bit more teaching on how to meditate. And I will be back here next Monday at 4:30, same as always. And we'll be talking more about meditating. I can't wait to share that time with you. I appreciate you listening to us today. This is Della Hill with The Extraordinary Talk Show, where we are not trying to tell you what to think, but encouraging you to think for yourself. And I hope somewhere along the way, finding a little bit or a lot of it of your personal extraordinary. Have an awesome week.